All right, so I want to read something that I saw on Twitter today.
Okay.
Okay, and it says, and this is from somebody on Mill Twitter, right? You can surf Twitter, or X as it's called now, right?
Okay.
X. And so somebody posted, and this is, I think, this is a captain or a major, right, in the active duty Army. And she's like, I've never seen anybody go as hard on a PT test as your OIF and OEF senior leaders. Old men out there running sub 14-minute 2 miles on an ACFT with busted kneecaps, torn ACLs, herniated discs, and degenerative arthritis, right? And then there's this whole, like...
Nailed it.
All the subtweets after it was like 60 comments. It was just crazy. 150 likes where everybody's having their examples like, oh, like, first sergeant's out here, like, smoking chief warrant officers and, not to mention he smoked a pack of cigarettes before the race started,
Yep.
right? And they're, like, pounding energy drinks before they take off. So, anyway, I thought that was unique, and I thought that was
Fitting.
Yeah, fitting, because every time I get on Strava, right, which is his
Right.
running app, tracking app, I see Master Sergeant Fackrell's times on there.
Good morning and welcome to GI and a Cup of Joe. I'm your co-host, Annie T.
And I am Justin C. In this podcast, we'd like to take off the rank and get right down to just being a regular person who made a random decision to wear a uniform in the Idaho Army National Guard. All of us come from very different backgrounds, but we do have one common goal: to better our future.
Not just to better our future for ourselves, but for our families and the ones we love. Officially, we are Command Sergeant Major Justin Cole and Sergeant First Class Annie Torres, but honestly, I'm just a regular girl.
And I'm just a regular dude. We have Master Sergeant Tony Fackrell here, Tony as we call him, and let's just talk about running for a minute. Like, what got you into running?
A little bit of my history, like you were saying, being broken. So I had a pretty significant back surgery for 5S1 in 2007. And I always kind of liked to run, and the doctor told me, like, you should never run again because if you blow the disc, you're going to get fused, and, infusion's worse than just cleaning up the mess that was created. And so I got a new provider, and I asked the doc, I said, hey, do you care if I start running? I said, because I've had if you guys don't understand what a profile is, it's basically your limitations that that a medical provider will give you. You can do this, you can't do that. So I had no running. And he said, go ahead, try it, see what happens. And he was a runner, so that kind of like fed me. And so I think 6-8 months went by, and I was using a tracking app like Strava. And he said, how are you doing? And I showed him, and I think I had about 400 miles in 6 months.
Wow.
And he's like, I don't think you need this profile anymore. So I think you should be free to run. And I'm like, I'm good with that. And I don't know, I've just loved it ever since. And I think it's a lot of its community, a lot like with what we do. So within Strava, I have several people I work with and some people that I know outside of the military, and kind of keep track of each other and root each other on, and like, good job, and
That's awesome.
keeps you accountable. Accountability's there. So like, hey, for example, I got hurt and missed a few weeks, and it was amazing how many phone calls and texts and stuff I got. Are you alive? Are you okay?
Yep.
So that's kind of how it started, and once they let me go, I just kept going. I mean, I was in a motorcycle accident in July. My goal for this year was 1,000 miles, and I don't remember off the top of my head. It was 820 something at the time of the motorcycle accident. So,
yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like, when I get in there and I don't just look at somebody's Strava app and like what their recent run was. I actually get in their activities list and run down like what's their fastest time. What is their 5K, their 10K, like, because you're always comparing yourself, right? And then I get to how many runs that you've completed in Strava. And you and 2 other guys on Strava, when I first started going down this path with Strava, were one of the guys that I was constantly always following on Strava. Because you have like 732 runs or something like this. Some ridiculous number of runs that you have on there with an average. I think your average is something like 850 miles a year or something. So, and I was like, yeah, let's get after it. Let's do this. So,
Where's your favorite place to run at?
my very favorite place is the foothills. There's so many good trails up there, and Sergeant Major can attest that you can pick easy or you can pick hard on how you're feeling that day. So you can really choose on how much you want to challenge yourself. It's a lot easier on your knees. I don't know if you guys have seen those headphones that go outside of the ears. So I wear like the AfterShokz headphones.
Yeah.
So I get my little bit of music, but I'm hearing the birds and all the stuff around me, and you kind of lose yourself. I go up there and run 6-10 miles and just kind of lose myself.
Oh, it's nice.
And that's my favorite. It's a lot easier on knees and so on.
I went running up there a few years ago, and I had a friend that she was a hardcore runner, much like Sakis was or is. And she had her friend join us for the run, and he ran so fast. And after the run, he introduced himself to us, and he was the winner of Roby Creek.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, why am I running with you?
Yeah, exactly.
It was ridiculous.
And, you talk about the community portion of that too. I usually get out there at like 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
I like to do the headlamp. I don't want to run into people.
You're a little ridiculous.
And there's like the same 7 people at 3:30 to 3:45 in the morning that run that loop. And everybody that's out running are guys that do like 7-minute miles, no matter where they run it. Like 7-minute mile in the tracks, 7-minute mile straight up a mountain. It doesn't matter, right? But it's always the same guys that you cross and the same. So you get on that, you get on those trails and you're like, okay, when I get to this point on this trail, I should be seeing this guy. And you always can tell, oh man, I'm second today. He's clearly gone. He's down the mountain.
So let's go back to high school. I want to know who Tony was in high school. Where did you go to high school at?
I went to high school at Bora High here in Boise.
Okay.
I was about everything but school. So if there was a bonfire, I'm just to be honest, if there was a bonfire party, I was there. If so-and-so's parents were out of town, I was there. I was not a very good kid.
No?
No. And then I pretty much got to run free. So as long as I checked in and I wasn't dead, it was pretty much okay at my house. So.
Okay.
So it didn't really concentrate or realize that there's decisions you start making about the time you're 10, 11, 12 years old that are going to affect you the rest of your life. So in that aspect of things, I kind of started behind. School wasn't important to me. Friends and going down to the cruise on Friday night, that's what was important to me.
Right.
So I never studied. I think I had about a C average in high school without studying. I could pass tests, but I just never did homework. And so that's kind of where I was.
What was your favorite subject?
History. I had a teacher named Mr. Binder, Tony Binder, and he went above and beyond and actually made it like come alive. So like when we studied different things, there would be skits and he would bring people in and they would act out like court things, or I think he came in dressed as Teddy Roosevelt in a wheelchair and gave us a speech. And so you read stuff in a book and you can memorize dates and this happened, that happened, but he really brought things to life and he kind of went above and beyond. So I always remember him.
Sometimes visual learning is easier.
Yeah, visual spatial. That's like if I can't see it in front of me, like, okay, you can stop talking.
Yeah, so he had like a fake cigarette and an eye rim, the little round glasses and in a wheelchair. And was a very athletic guy and very tall, like 6'4". So, I mean, here he is crammed in this little wheelchair, but he stuck with the state and character. That's awesome. It was one of my favorite classes.
Did you do any sports or anything like that? Any activities?
I did until, like I said, I played football up until sophomore year. And then I kind of let it go because just running around was more fun, I guess.
Right.
So, yeah. And then when I was a junior in high school, I had an uncle who retired E7 in the Navy. And so every time he come to town, like it was like circus comes to town and everything would stop and we would have big dinners and just to see how the family and friends kind of looked up to him. So like when I was a junior, I decided like, I'm going to go in the Army. He thought that was kind of crazy because he was Navy, but he said, well, we'll see how it goes. So it's just kind of like, that was kind of my way to not grow up. I was like, I'll go in the Army and we'll just figure it out as we go. And now it's 34 years later.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it was a great choice.
So I knew I needed to do something because if I would have stayed here, I think I would have just been at a standstill in my life. Like,
sure.
I needed some sense of direction.
Yeah, of course.
And seeing how, just how people treated my uncle, like that was significant to me. And I was like, I could do that. I could do something, something bigger, something more than just, working at McDonald's or something after high school.
Yeah, definitely. What made you focus on the Army rather than the Navy if your uncle was Navy?
Oh, boy, I was so naive as a kid.
We all
For
were.
everybody listening, you can probably still find the commercial on YouTube. So tanks weigh about 70 tons and they don't fly well, but they had this commercial where all these tankers were out driving around and they were jumping tanks like Dukes of Hazzard. And I was like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go jump tanks.
I've got the VHS in my office.
Oh my God.
The Army recruiting video.
That's good marketing right there.
Yeah. So I like I said, I don't think I'm not intelligent. I did super well on the ASVAB, the test that, for those that don't know, the test you take before you come in, it tells you what your aptitudes are and what jobs you're allowed to get. And I did so well that they wanted me to be a linguist. They were pushing me to be a linguist and wanted me to go to Monterey, California. I think it's for a year of school.
Monterey Bay.
And I was stuck. I was like, no, dude, I'm jumping tanks. And they're like, really? You could be a linguist. We could teach you like Russian, Chinese, and you could have a job after the military. I was like, nope, jumping tanks. Straight up.
You were 17, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, jumping tanks.
Yep, that's what I wanted to do, jump tanks.
No, it was, I had a short stint. When I came in, I did almost 10 years in the Navy. And when you talk about, you had a family member that was a retired E7, that's a respectable rank in the Navy. Guys retire in the Navy all the time, and they make it to E6, and that's it. So I can definitely understand that when everything's shut down and the family just kind of like huddled around this guy for family dinners and stuff. So no, absolutely. So was there anything at any point, any conversation that you had about the benefits of joining the military when you first decided, or was it kind of the same story as everybody else? It's like, hey, I'm just going to figure this out.
So joining, I really had two peripheral things that hit me that helped me make the decision. So I was pretty fortunate that I got to go to an exchange program in Paris between my junior and senior year. So I knew that I loved Europe. And at the time, I don't think they do it anymore, but you used to be able to pick your first duty station. So I actually signed a contract that said I'm going to Germany. So that was one big thing for me, was like, I want to go back to Europe. Europe was like really cool. And so I did. I got first duty station of Germany. And then I always thought about, at some point, I'm going to go back to college. And so I did it to sign up for the GI Bill and then to go to Europe. But my original plan was, 6 years out, come back, go to school, probably like you guys hear a lot. And didn't kind of work out that way. I think I was out 4 months and joined the Guard. So,
yeah.
But yeah, my intent was just to go do 6 years, come back, go to school, hang out in Germany. And so that was the two things that kind of got me.
Life.
So how did the Idaho Guard put its hooks in you?
Probably the easiest way to put this is, for those out there, is like sports. Like, especially if you play sports year after year, you have your core people, and you have the camaraderie, and you have, the banter and the jokes and the, after game, let's go get pizza stuff. So there was that kind of thing. And I didn't realize how tight knit, even in active duty, that our unit was. I actually still in touch with several of those guys, but it was just, I got out, I got home, started working construction, which was a good job, but there was it was kind of, you just felt like you're on your own. Like there wasn't a group goal. There wasn't someone there to help lift you up, pick you up, push you, like, you can do better, you can do better. And so I think I was out 4 or 5 months, and I was like, Idaho has tanks. I could jump tanks.
Yeah.
So I came in the Guard in, I think it was February of 95, and just kind of been here ever since. The thing that I loved more about the Guard than active duty is active duty. They PCS every couple of years. So it's almost, at some point, you're like saying hi, bye. Like, hey, for the last 3 months, you've been my great buddy. Now, bye. You're going to Fort Moore. So then poof, they're gone. And so that was kind of a downfall. And then, like in the Guard, some of these guys I've known 20 years. I know their kids, I know their moms, I know their grandparents.
Yeah.
And it was a lot different once I joined the Guard. So that's pretty much how they got it sunk into me, was just fitting in, getting into the group. And I don't know, I always felt like, for the most part, all my leadership felt like, it made me feel like I mattered, like I was part of the team. Like if I wasn't there, we would somehow be less of whatever it is we were trying to do.
Yeah, I personally think the Guard has a great support system just in general, because everybody knows everybody.
I don't know if you guys know this about me, but in 96, I was going through a divorce, and I was having a hard time, and things were different then, and I needed some time away. And so I actually have some time as being quote unquote AWOL. And an old man, they call him El Diablo Rodriguez, First Sergeant Rodriguez.
Yeah.
He contacted me like all the time, and he's like, how are you doing? How are you doing? I was like, I'm living couch to couch. I'm drinking way too much. Things are bad. And he's like, well, let's get it together. And then he called me and said, and things were, believe it or not, even though I was in a bad way, I kept the same job. So it was easy to get a hold of. And so he finally just said, "Are you good?" And I had met my current wife. We've been together 27 years, kids, grandkids, things have been good. And he said, "Okay, we're going to bring you back." I was like, "What rank do I wear?" I was an E5. I was like, what am I? Am I a private? What are we doing? And he said, "No, I know you've gone through a lot, and I went to bat for you." So he goes, "You're just going to come in. You've been gone for like 9 months or whatever it was." And he goes, "I'm just going to introduce you as a new soldier, plug you back in. Like, I know your work ethic and stuff, and we'll just start over."
Wow.
Stuff like that doesn't happen everywhere. That like people have a hard time, and somebody actually cares and contacts you, and "Are you okay? What do you need help with?"
Yeah, that's good leadership right
So,
there.
he's every time I see him, I still hug him and almost cry because I wouldn't be here without him.
So, what would you say is your greatest accomplishment so far in the military?
I'm going to put a fork in the road here. Hopefully I won't make this last too long. So when I joined the Army, my goal was E7 because my uncle was E7. So like that's
That makes
substantial.
sense. Yeah. So
When I made Master Sergeant E8 and then got to do a First Sergeant tour, that was significant. And he reached out to me and, "You're doing better than me. I can't believe this. This is awesome." He goes, E8's a big deal. And so that was a real proud moment. And, getting to take charge as the senior enlisted person for a whole company was, it was great. And it really changed my view on just leadership in general and how much of effect you can have on a group of people. I was only there, I think 18, 20 months, but just the amount of time that I was there, people were opening up, they were talking, they were sharing, they were helping each other out. It seemed like more and more as things went on with the command team that we had.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So that was awesome. So like I said, I beat my goal by 1,
Yeah.
and now I'm in the Sergeant Major Academy, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll beat my goal by 2.
No,
So
there's regular conversations about you and your follow-on career.
So that was a big moment for me. Family at promotion and so on. That was a big deal. And then just to kind of go back to the type of people that we work with. So we were in Iraq in 04, 05. This is really not a mission that was ours. So we were out in the middle of the night doing our night patrols, and this, I'm guessing she was probably 50-year-old lady, is like frantic. So we go talk to her with the interpreter. We find out that her 2 daughters were kidnapped that day, that she'd been to the local police, and they were going to do something later, like tomorrow or something. But she was concerned, like, I might never see them again. So we went to the police station. We talked to the lieutenant in charge. He basically said, "We don't believe her." And I'm like, this lady is hysterical. You can't make this up, right?
Right.
So we were supposed to be out like 2 to 3, 4 hours tops. So long story, we got the police. We got the lady in her Humvee. We went to 8 or 10 different places. We found the 2 daughters. One of them was beat up pretty bad. We got them back to the police station with the person that they was, I guess, holding them captive.
Yeah.
We got him to give up 2 other people. So at the end of the night, we saved 2 daughters. The mom was happy, and we had 3 people in custody. And this is a civil problem. This isn't a military problem. But
Right.
like my guys didn't complain once. It was like a super proud moment when, I think we were out like 11 hours. We didn't get back till almost noon. The main base is calling, "Are you guys okay? Are you guys okay?" And trying to explain to them what we're doing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just the kind of people, we are or should be.
Agreed.
We went
Yeah.
above and beyond, and we literally, they were, I think one was 18, 19, 18, 20. So over there, when they're not married, they're more considered, they called them girls, but when we actually rounded everything up, they were like late teenagers, early 20s.
Gotcha.
But, that was a big deal for me. I think about that sometimes. Like, what do you do in your life that makes a difference? I think that made a difference.
It absolutely did.
Yeah.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. When you have conversations with anybody that's worked for you directly or stood shoulder to shoulder with you on deployments, everybody has amazing things to say about you. But one of the things that you hear often is the nickname that you got, and it's Fact Daddy. So
True.
what? Talk us through how you got this nickname.
So it goes back to actually the first few months in Germany on active duty. So we had I don't even remember who got it. So back in those days, you actually had to take your dog tags and you had to type them in a machine, like click, click, click. So somebody had to go make dog tags. So we had this like little group of 5 or 6 people. So I don't know if it was Sean Coolidge or it might have been right. Someone had to go make them. So anyways, they gave us all nicknames just because they made these dog tags. So we had these dog tags that said our unit was white trash and we all got nicknames. And so I, like Johnson got J-Bo, and they gave me Fact Daddy, and then it just kind of stuck ever since. I probably still have the dog tag somewhere.
Yeah.
So we instead of wearing 2 dog tags, we wore 3 until we got in trouble, and then we had to go back to wearing 2. So, awesome. And then when I came in the Guard, it's like, I don't know. I think it kind of stuck, and throughout the time is just, as a time of the squad leader, you're like the daddy of the squad, the platoon sergeant of the platoon,
Sure.
Yeah. And it's just kind of always stuck.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this, I'm a gamer, love to play World of Tanks on Xbox, and I had that as my gamer tag, and someone complained, and they removed it. So
What?
I can't be Fact Daddy on there. It's too close to, I guess, bad words or somebody's mom
Someone's
reported me.
somewhere.
So I had a cool name on Xbox, and then they canceled it. But that's kind of how I got the name. It was kind of just a joke.
Yeah.
But it's like it always stuck.
Do you get to jump tanks on the game?
Yes.
And we come full circle.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Nice. So, taking a look at who you are now and everything that you've accomplished in your career, if you could turn around and you could talk to a high school student, what advice would you give to a high school student who was concerned about their future?
Kind of just coming from my own, boots on the ground, and being a father, the biggest thing I can tell you is like, sometimes even the little things that you're looking at and the little decisions that you're making, you're setting patterns for the rest of your life. And I don't think at that age, I didn't realize that. So whatever direction that these teenagers want to go, it really starts young. You can really affect your trajectory by little decisions when you're younger. And one of the best decisions I ever made, not just saying because I've done this for 34 years, but I don't think I would be where I'm at financially. I don't think I would be as stable as a husband, as a dad, without having this opportunity. So looking back on it, I think it's probably one of the smartest decisions I ever made. But whatever you decide to do or don't do, look at it from a 10-year perspective. If I do this now, what does it look like in 10 years? If I don't do this, what does it look like in 10 years? And so this is kind of how I raised my kids is, they don't run free, that kind of stuff. But like we talk about like, okay, you want to do this? Okay. Now you don't like your job. You want to quit your job? Okay, great. But what kind of precedence is this setting? Is every time something gets hard, are you going to quit? And so I look at it like that. Like when you make a decision, it has second and third order effects. When you're 18, 17, 16, you don't realize it.
Yeah.
So in my case, like being a bad student, when I could have been a good student, that really set me back. So in, I think it was 2006, I decided, like I told my wife one day, I was like, I'm going to go get my master's degree. And she's like, yeah, whatever. So I worked full time and I have a master's, I have an MBA. So
that's awesome.
I'm just saying, like, what would have happened if I decided to be a better student in high school? Could that have changed my trajectory? Absolutely. But at the time, it didn't seem like that was what was important to me.
That's a very common sense approach to life. It's impressive. We got a question here, kind of. I don't know.
It's a very important question.
It's a very important question.
Very important.
Okay. All right, I feel like I'm being teed up on here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, here we go.
We're setting you up. Is Sasquatch real?
Oh, that is a setup. There was something on, you know how it is when your phone listens to you and they talk about something and then all of a sudden you get all these feeds?
Oh, yeah. Oh, the official answer is no, it doesn't do that.
Yeah, that's the Apple Google answer to that. But yeah, that's what's funny because this last 2 weeks I've had so much feeds about Sasquatch, and I listened to one yesterday. It was all about noises. Like, this is proof they're Sasquatch because of all these weird noises in the woods. And I'm like, I wonder if you guys ever been in the woods. There's always weird noises in the woods. But yeah, if he's real, he's got to be way smarter than us because we have satellites, we have game cameras everywhere. I think somebody would have spotted him by now. But I think it's a fun story.
Yeah.
Enough to scare your crap out of your kids when you're camping.
Or your grandkids.
Yeah, or your grandkids. Yeah. That's true.
Okay, so what? He's on the fence. We'll say.
On the
I'd say
On the
probably. It's yeah.
He needs to see Sasquatch.
Yeah.
He needs to have an encounter to be a believer.
Okay.
Well, we stepped on some Sergeant Major's grass today. Not much. If you're not familiar with Sergeant Major's grass, you just don't step on it. So we did. We said some acronyms that we need to clear up. There's only 4.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope, you're good. I think you referenced PCS. No, you referenced PCS. Can you explain what a PCS move is?
So PCS is a permanent change of station. So regular Army, probably everybody else, Navy, and so on. Every couple of years, they pick you up and they move you and your family somewhere else.
Okay.
So you go base to base, sometimes country to country, just depends.
And you said you went AWOL. What does that mean?
That means absent without lead. It means I didn't go to drill and I wasn't excused. So
Okay.
it's kind of like you're supposed to show up for a shift at work and you just don't show up.
You just don't show up. Justin, you mentioned the deployment in an OIF OEF.
OIF, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and OEF, Operation Enduring Freedom.
It was just 18 months in the desert.
Yes.
And then you said ACFT.
The Army Combat Fitness Test. It's the test that replaced the Army Physical Fitness Test, the APFT.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. We'd like to thank our guests and our production crew for their time.
Join us every Wednesday here on GI and a Cup of Joe. See you next week.